Hello,
Um,
and welcome to Mythos Busters. I'm Sean, and joining me today, we got a reduced crew. It's just me, and it's Ian. Hey, Ian.
Hello, it's me.
I was saying just the two of us whenever it's you and me, and I don't know why specifically
It
because
seems fitting somehow. I think
just
I've done that before too.
the two of us. And we have some exciting stuff to talk about today. Hot on the heels of preview season and chapter 2 and new core being announced. On that first announcement stream, FFG alluded to, or I guess Liv specifically alluded to, other content coming quickly on the heels of the new core set. And now at PAX, the in-flight report for FFG has taken place, and they dropped a ton of stuff. Not
Mhm.
only for Arkham, but if you're like me and can't stop acquiring card games, a bunch of other exciting stuff too. But we are here to talk about the Arkham stuff. Uh,
Yeah, correct. Um, I guess it is notable that the in-flight report took place at PAX. It's been
mm-hmm.
at Gen Con for years and years, like kind of one of the signature events, but now from what they've said, it's gonna PAX is the new home. And I will say I think this is probably the most exciting and best in-flight report they've had in maybe like 5 6 years, because it used to be this like huge event and super exciting back when FFG made a ton of different games. Um, but to be super honest, the past few ones have been like announcing stuff that people already knew about or like that kind of thing. But this was felt like it was packed with a ton of actual meaningful announcements.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Where I at a certain point kind of tuned out of the Gen Con FFG in-flight report,
Yeah.
and that might be as much where we're at as anything, but I do feel like there was a magic, and I don't want to point everything at like Asmodee, but there was a magic to the in-flight reports back in the like
You can point it at them. It's
I
fine.
I don't think it's the only reason, but back
Sure,
in like
sure.
the mid-teens when I first started going to Gen Con, it
Mhm.
was a thing. Like they would give,
Yeah.
like there was the year before I first went, they gave a free copy of the new Star Wars role playing game core book
No, that's
to
right.
everyone who
Yeah.
showed up at the in-flight report, as a surprise, as like just like cool stuff like that. Like I do
Yeah. It
miss
would be
that.
like packed and yeah, it would be like
There was a
such
line.
excitement.
There was always a line of people standing outside the Gen Con in-flight report waiting to be let in, right? Because they only had so many
Yep.
tickets, and if you showed up with your generics and you were waiting in line, and they had extra spots before the thing actually started, they would let people in. So that used to be a thing too. Anyway, two old men, two old men talking about the good
Yeah.
old days here on the
Well, I
Mythos
did
Buster
super
stream.
appreciate the change in format too, where they were like, because it used to just be like, head of studio will talk at audience for a while, but now they were like bringing up designers and
Yeah.
various folks who actually do the work to to talk about it, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, and I do think they have kind of changed up the style a little bit. And I don't know if this is just it being at PAX, so things conforming more to the way they work at PAX, but it seems like they've changed the style of the in-flight report to resemble a little bit more of like that like standard video game announcement
Mm,
type
sure, yeah.
I don't want to stream presentation, I guess. So it feels a little bit more that way. But anyway, enough preamble. Let's talk
Yeah.
about what they revealed. So, first thing of note is that they did reveal the final three investigators that will come in the Chapter 2
Hmm.
core. So, joining Joe Diamond and Isabella Barnes, that we've known of up to this point, the other investigators will be Daniela Reyes, Dexter Drake, and Trish Scarborough. So, Izzy's the only unfamiliar face in the core set. Everyone else is an old friend coming back in a fun way.
True. I guess to that point, was there any of these that were surprising to you as like a core Gator choice? I mean, not that we know their mechanics really, but just them as a character, I guess.
That's a good question. Not really. I do think there's good arguments to be made that like there's like a good handful of investigators that could be like the consummate version of this like trope of
Mm-hmm.
their trope within like the Arkham files, right? And I know they always tried to get a mix of males and females, and
Yep.
so Drake, unsurprising. Dexter
Yeah.
is like to
Yeah.
me like the consummate Arkham mystic. So no surprise there at all.
Agreed.
Trish, no, not really surprised by that one. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean it just
She's a
it makes
fairly
sense.
well-known character.
Yeah, yeah. How about you? Were you holding out for anyone in particular?
Um, no, not really. Like, yeah, like Trish, Dexter, those both seem like Joe Diamond, seem like fairly prominent investigator. I guess if anyone, it would be maybe Daniela Reyes, just because she's more of a recent character.
Hmm.
Um, but like, I think it totally makes sense. It's not unwelcome. And I think like including a mix of kind of the I don't know what we would call them, the classic Arkham Files Gators and some of the newer ones make sense.
Hmm. It'll be interesting to see the reworks too, because Joe is the only one where we've actually seen like his card, his stats, his ability, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so far as the first revealed repeat investigator, his stats remained the same as I recall. He's
I
two four
believe
four
so,
two
yeah.
and still like eight
Hmm.
six. So like ability changed, but everything else about him stayed consistent. So I'll be interested with these other repeat investigators if that's going to be the case. If they kind of feel like mechanically they're locked into retaining those aspects of the old investigators versus what gets to be new. So
Yeah, like I'm really interested about the design part of it as like a core set product because I th- like I feel like we're kind of all expecting that it's going to be roughly at the level of Joe Diamond, which is a very straightforward ability, which is like if you investigate, you get a card, you draw a card. And as a core set geared towards new players, like I don't think we're gonna get crazy jank like a Luke equivalent or
yeah.
anything like that. Like I think it'll be fairly straightforward. But I also don't think like it's just gonna be because Joe Diamond feels like he's like do the class thing and get the class bonus. Like
Hmm.
seekers investigate and they draw cards. Like if they were all were like if Trish was like if you evade you get a resource. That would be cool, but I don't think it'll be that straightforward where they're all kind of designed that way. So, but I guess I don't totally know what to expect.
Yeah, we do kind of reasonably expect that they are still going with the classic core deck building rules, right? Where everyone's just like, 5 of their main class up to level 2 of their off class. So that way you can spread the core cards around more
Right.
easily within just the set, right? I kind of felt like that was always the point of those deck building rules being in the core set. So it would surprise me none if we see, because I love Danielle, and I've actually been watching
Hmm.
our when we did that in-person Iron Man of the Dream Eaters in the background of work
Hmm.
a lot the past few days. So I've like been watching myself play an old like Daniela tank build, and I'm like, oh man, she's so cool. But she got done so dirty by the fact that she
Mm,
can only upgrade into Survivor stuff. So if
yeah,
this new
true.
Daniela is a little bit more, presumably would be main class Guardian, off class Survivor, I would assume, because we
Probably.
assume Trish is going to be Rogue off class Seeker,
Probably, yeah.
and Dexter's going to be Mystic off class Rogue. I think that kind of fits in like kind of a mostly evenly distributed like um pull on each of the different class cards, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would expect. Like that they would kind of just do the very straightforward deck building out the gate. Um, And it's also interesting because, like, when we got the original core set investigator lineup, like MJ and Nate, they were kind of designing. It's always weird when you're designing a core set and you don't actually know how the game is going to be played. Like, that's kind of how you have to do it because obviously no one can play the game till there's a core set. But it's also from a design perspective, you're just kind of to a certain degree, you're throwing stuff out there, not quite knowing how it's going to go. But with this core two, now the design team is like they were designing core investigators knowing kind of how Arkham is played and all the things you have to take into consideration. So
Yeah. And that
I'm
is
curious
what's
how that will go.
and you know, old heads like us will know that there were some design growing pains through at least Carcosa, right? Because
Yeah.
if we
Skids
assume
is still getting made fun of till this day.
yes, but the if we assume at least like a year-long development to production cycle, I think that's safe to assume. I don't know for sure exactly how long it takes, but it seems to be at least that long. Like Dunwich would have been in testing before the core set was even announced.
Right.
So
Yep.
like you're building the plane on the way down, and now you know with chapter 2 we've got a baseline that's already set. We like have gone through several versions of what like the meta game of Arkham feels like. It's gonna be really interesting to see what this like reboot essentially gets to do.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe this is an obvious question, but is Dexter the one you're most excited for in the core?
That is a good question. I'm very interested to see what Izzy does.
Same.
Because now by process of elimination, she's got to be Survivor, right? I mean, I guess unless they took Daniela Survivor.
Yeah, she is her. I think her back has been revealed. Let me see if I can
Oh,
find
that's
a
been
little.
revealed. Oh, okay, I missed that one. All
Yeah.
right, so I'm talking out of my ass then.
Yep. She is Survivor, and
But yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
like Trish would be the obvious choice for me to be most excited about. Might be most excited about Izzy just because of the story elements taking over for Jenny.
yeah.
I'm really curious how that's gonna play out. Yeah, so she's Survivor, and she's Mystic 0 through 2 off class. Very interesting, Survivor Mystic.
Well.
Would not have
Isabella,
expected that.
allow me to introduce myself. Do you have a moment to
Yeah,
speak
right.
about our Lord and Savior David Renfield?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, well, yeah, that's exciting. Now, all right. Well, I mean, Dexter's cool, and I'm sure he'll be cool, and you know, the current version of him is interesting. I'll be interested to see what the new one does, obviously. But ooh, yeah, my interest in Isabella just shot way up, knowing that
Everyone fighting over Izzy now.
I look, purple and red are some of the best colors to mash together, and that's a tried and true formula. So here's hoping chapter 2 continues that wonderful trend.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of continuing, I think the bigger piece is
Mhm.
from that they announced at the in-flight report are the new products that are going to accompany the core set.
Yes.
So the first thing they announced is probably the biggest one that will garner discussion on our end, and that is that they are announcing soon after the core set, spring 2026, they're going to release a series of Evergreen Investigator starter decks. Um, they announced on the stream that these will remain in print, which I guess implies at least through chapter 2 or whatever this new era ends up looking like or culminating in. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah, that's the
imagine if we had
biggest
gotten the
part
starter
of it.
deck straight after the chapter 1 core?
I know. It's like because they had said like some of these expansions might be investigator focused, but I think doing starter decks, evergreen starter decks, is a smart choice. Like not only giving us more player cards out the gate, which we expected, but player cards that are going to be in print forever. Because like it's worth mentioning with this new format, they have said before, like after they didn't specify a time frame, but after a few years, certain expansions will go out of print. They're doing like rotation basically. So, but these will always be so the core 2 and these starter decks, whatever that player card pool is, will always be able to build with those. Um, which is kind of scary as a designer because you better get those right. Looking at you, Nick.
Mm,
You
no
better get
fucking
those right because these
pressure.
are going to be people can always play with. But yeah, they're also like players could just like if you're a new player, let's say your friend has the core or has some of the other campaigns, like you could just buy a starter deck and show up. I think that's a good entry point.
Yeah. Well, and just the ability to just give us this giant splash of new class defining cards, presumably. And I guess that is a presumption on my part that they'll go the same way with the starter decks that they did the first time, where each one is like a pure class expression for each class.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it would make sense because then you just get to stuff all of those like identity making cards into one product and ship
Right.
it.
So it's not just like the Tommy pack, it's also the like Guardian card pool booster pack, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Nick says, "Don't worry, we got them right, except where we didn't." Appropriate.
Sounds about right.
So
Nothing
they
less than what I would expect.
exactly. They did announce who. So the new decks are going to be Tommy Muldoon as Guardian,
Mm.
Carolyn Fern as Seeker,
Mm.
class swap that I'm a big fan of, by the way. Like I know that her thing in chapter 1 was like, hey, support is kind of Seeker's thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it felt very weird that Carolyn did not have high intellect and like full stats, and
Right.
she was an interesting beast in chapter 1. The Mystic is going to be Marie Lambeau.
Mm.
Oh, mon cher. She looks. Look at that mic. She's like frying that mic with her vocals. I'm so excited
Right.
for it. I'm also
All the
excited to,
feedback.
yeah, well, and Marie is one of those like lost mystics, right? Where she was just such a weird entity in chapter 1. Um, where
Yeah,
she
because
came
of
out
like
as like a limited release special thing that I didn't get a hold of at first, so it took me forever to even like get around to playing her. And then she released alongside, was it alongside Diana in TCU? Is that what I'm
I
remembering?
believe that sounds right. Yeah.
And she's Doomplay, which is a lot of people are kind of afraid about. And like the biggest thing, I guess, is the Baron, right? Like her weakness
Yeah.
is absolutely brutal at level 0. So
Yeah, there were it felt like there were so many factors against, and she's such a cool character. Like I love all the musician characters, but
agree.
this like singer character with a family history. And one of the cool things they and we'll talk about the last two, but one of the cool things they mentioned is for the existing characters, like they gave little tidbits about how their story has changed. Like Tommy obviously is not quite the rookie.
Now he's just
Uh
cop.
just cop. Yeah. Not a veteran, but just a cop. Carolyn, like you mentioned, is Seeker. Really Lambeau, which is an interesting tidbit. They said she's kind of wrestled with her family history and is now embracing the blood magic, something along those lines, which has me very excited. Like, I don't know what that entails, but it sounds cool.
Exactly right.
um, yeah. Uh, yeah. So then the last two are new investigators,
Mm-hmm.
new to the stable of investigators.
Yeah, go for it.
So Survivor is Miguel de la Cruz, who is brand new. Um, so little tidbit, the story from what I can remember is an Argentinian ranch hand who is now working at this meatpacking plant in Arkham along with Daniela. So maybe their stories will intertwine somehow, more than likely. And then Andre Patel is the rogue, so I'm obviously very excited for that. Who's a silent film actor and is from the film Fatale Pack. Which, a side note, I still need to play that one, so I'm
Oh,
not familiar
you have
with the
not played that
character.
yet?
No, I haven't played it yet. It's on my yeah. So, but he comes from that. I
Well,
guess he was
what are
a
what are
story
you doing
actor.
later?
I don't know. Maybe we'll have to play it.
That one's really fun. And what's interesting is the so he's the NPC that you get in that scenario, and he
Hmm.
has an ability that would translate and feel very much like
Mm.
a an investigator starter deck rogue ability. And it's like what is okay, so what is it? If you succeeded at a test where at least 2 cards were committed, take an extra action.
Ooh,
I
interesting.
think is what the film Fatale NPC does. So it would be that would feel just like copy paste
That
straight,
would go, yeah.
once per round, I guess. But that would feel very much like a rogue starter deck investigator ability, like
Yeah,
straight
it's
up there with
almost
Winnie.
kind of like a Winnie feeling type thing, but playing
Hmm.
out a little differently than she does. But yeah, I could definitely see that.
But yeah,
So
so
pretty
that's the new spread. So we're coming out of the gate. They didn't give us specific dates, and I know that really the release of these things is highly variable depending on where you are. But they made it sound like the starter decks would be fairly quick on the heels
right.
of the core set. So it'll be really cool to have a big expanded player card pool to like really play around with.
Yeah. So spring 2026 for this, along with core, and this is 10 new investigators that will have all at once. So it'll feel like a nice little dump of new investigators to play with. So for these, is it fair to say Marie's the one you're most excited for?
I mean, out of the gate, knowing nothing else, yes, I'm always going to be
Mm-hmm.
excited for the Mystic, but I will be very interested to see Carolyn as a Seeker. That is high on my list of anticipation, and like seeing what Miguel and Andre do might very quickly turn me toward one of those because like I said,
True, yeah.
like
Total
Winnie's
wild card.
one of my favorite rogues. It's like far and away, and if Andre does end up kind of feeling a lot like that, then that's going to be a good sign for me. How about you?
Uh, Definitely the Rogue, Andre Patel. Because of Rogue, and also like the whole actor thing seems interesting to me. So want to see how that plays out. And then I would say Marie, just because of that blood magic thing. It made my ears perk up. I'm curious to. I have a deep love for mechanics that involve like you taking on bad stuff or hurting yourself to make good things happen. I'm not going to delve into what that means for me psychologically, but for game mechanics wise, I enjoy kind of mechanic.
As as a Lord of the Rings player whose pet hero was Gloin, yes, I agree
Oh,
that
sure,
perhaps
yeah,
we ought not pull at that thread.
yeah. Let's not. Might have to go to Carolyn for that one.
Yeah, sorry, Tommy. I'm sure he's going to be good, but a little boring. Although I do have to say, Nick has since like day one of knowing that Tommy was going to be in the LCG was like his signature needs to be the motorcycle. His signature needs to
Yes.
be a motorcycle. So like we'll see if the Mad Lad did it.
If it's a motorcycle, then I will play Tommy. Otherwise, I'll put him last. Just as
Yo, there you
punishment.
go, Nick. I hope you made the right call.
It's just gonna be like a little bicycle.
All right, so then for the second half of the year, the first thing they announced was a new campaign expansion
Mm.
called Children of Blood, which I
Hmm.
will pull up the art they teased here. Look at that. So the art itself looks like someone lycanthropizing, I think.
See, I was gonna go vampire on that
Oh, okay. I
tease,
mean, that would make more
but
sense with the title for sure.
yeah, the hands and claws are more, but yeah,
I mean, I'd believe it either way. And you know what? Some of the coolest campy ass horror movies just throw both at you. So I am here
yeah,
for it. But we
true.
know it's a campaign product, a 3 scenario campaign outside of the core. That's
Hmm.
new. Ian, your thoughts?
Um, a couple thoughts. One is like having short campaigns is nice. Like I experienced that. We all experienced that with Dream Eaters. And some people like that more than others, but I always thought it was a nice option. Like you don't always want to commit to a long campaign. On
I
the other hand, it's nice, like in terms of XP wise and leveling up, having that longer runway. But one of the things I was thinking, like, if we are going to get some of these shorter campaigns, that might encourage me to actually string some campaigns together, take investigators through campaigns.
True. Yeah, that is
What about you?
interesting.
How do you feel about it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I reserve real opinions for when I actually have my hands on it and get to play it, first of all. But
Sure.
there's a, I don't know. Look, everyone gets to feel the way they feel, but there's a lot of negativity flying around the at least the subreddit right now, and I'm sure it's over on BGG too. And
Mm,
that's fine. I get it, but boy, there's a lot of very strong opinions for among people who have not actually played with the thing yet, which I don't know.
mm.
Anyway,
Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, I mean it'll be cool. I'm gonna be interested to see if this just ultimately means there's fewer cards or if there's like a ton
Hmm.
more variability to each of the scenarios with maybe like swapping encounter sets or there I'll be interested to see if the mechanical density is denser.
Sure.
Because there's only three, right, because there's only three scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a interesting point that I didn't consider. Like, because I assumed it would be fewer cards, which it very well might be, but yeah, it might be. I mean, in just designing three scenarios, you would assume it kind of is a tighter experience in terms of like just being able to design that. I wonder if they're, since it's three scenarios, if they are kind of gonna dump a lot of XP on us after each one. It would only be reasonable.
Yeah, I mean if you're only getting two splashes of XP, they'd better.
Yeah.
Um Well, and what'll be interesting too is like the shorter campaigns I think are a really good excuse to really actually try out throwing in standalones as side stories.
True.
Um, and I would wager, and I don't think I'll be wrong on this one. So, but I'll eat crow if I am. I would wager that the absence of the long backlog of chapter one campaigns. If people are kind of keeping the two separate, right? will
Mhm.
will be will lead people to acquire and throw in those standalones more often in chapter 2 than they would in chapter 1 because that backlog kind of like slots into the new stuff more easily, I think. If that makes sense.
Right.
At least
Yeah.
that's the way it seems like I'm heading, knowing
Yeah.
that this campaign is going to be shorter.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's more flexible just by virtue of being this kind of mini campaign, I guess. And also like I haven't really looked at the reactions. Like I guess I shouldn't be surprised that people are feeling negative about it, but I am kind of surprised because it didn't seem like really that big a deal to me because we also don't know, like, I don't know if people are assuming that we're always just going to have shorter campaigns because we don't know that. Like they made it very clear that it's just kind of a flexible model going forward and kind of anything goes. So
Yeah. And
like
we'll
like
have
I
had
feel
the
like
core
this
set.
is this is just like you get a core 2 and here's another quick like mini campaign you can play through instead of having to wait a long time for another like big batch of content.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I'm looking.
Yeah, I mean I think that's, at least based on what they've said, that's the most accurate picture. And you can feel how you feel about it, but that seems to be what they're gonna do. And this is not like 1 year we only get one three scenario campaign and that's it. This is the year that we're
Mhm.
also we're sitting on a new core set, and in addition, they announced a new standalone. So let me pull up that art. The new standalone is called Traces to Nowhere. And the art that they spoiled was, oh, here we go. Yeah, it's a Pepe Sylvia type investigation map.
Yeah.
And that shadow is, I'm trying to decide, is that like a hobgoblin? And he's like sticking his tongue out and like the hat is like swooping down
I
back
didn't see
there.
that before, but now I definitely see it.
Ah,
Yeah, I guess this is the
Spider-Man.
Marvel crossover. It
Oh, I
looks
mean,
like
or
maybe
it's
some
it's
weird tentacles happening up top, but I don't know.
it reminds me a lot of the enemies in the first Dead Space game. I can't even remember what they were called. Like, not
Hmm.
Necrons. That's Warhammer. But anyway, yeah. So Traces to Nowhere, new standalone announced, and they didn't really much say. They didn't say much else about that on stream. So that's
Yeah, I didn't. There's not really much to go on, so can't really speculate too much. But it's cool we're getting a scenario pack. Like, yeah, when you take everything together, next year we're getting three scenarios in the core, three scenarios, Children of Blood, and this we're getting like seven scenarios. So when you look at the whole picture, it's
that's pretty on par
not
for what we've been rolling at.
yeah, exactly. It's just kind of segmented differently.
Yeah. So very exciting, and it's kind of cool to see. what the next year holds.
Mm-hmm.
Not specifically Arkham game related, but still of note, because
Mm.
as I mentioned on our last stream, I think that GameGenic is doing God's work in the accessory arena. They did spoil or preview that they are revitalizing the Investigator deck tomes. They're a little bit more like sleek and gray as opposed to the class colors, and then the class colors come out in the print. So you can see them on screen right there. And then that's fine. That's whatever. I have never
Mm-hmm.
bought a deck tome because I can't think of a single
Me
time
either.
I have ever showed up to an Arkham event only needing my own deck. I am
Right. And I
I'm
just usually have stuff in a quiver, so
yeah, and like I'm the if it's not in a specific Arkham event, like I'm the one providing the cards and building the decks, and I've got the campaign, and like I'm bringing
mm-hmm.
like a suitcase. Like I have my Hobby Lobby artist case um uh filled
Right.
up to the brim, so that's like my minimal loadout. But they announced what they're calling the game night chest, and this was the cooler part to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because very specifically, this is meant to do exactly that. It's got slots for the deck tomes to fit in, so you can bring the investigator decks. It's got a spot in the back to throw your chaos bag, and then it's got like drawers underneath for holding extra chaos tokens and like campaign guides. And like I love GameGenic because they truly do seem to think through the logistical mechanics of storing and handling these games. So I probably
Yeah.
will skip the investigator tomes, but that game night chest is one I'm looking at real close. Did you
Yeah,
see these?
agreed. I like that. Yeah, I really like the look of this. I haven't really delved too much into the game stuff, but these definitely have my interest. And I like how they're approaching it.
Yeah. So, and it does look pretty cute. Like it's pretty hot. I think in the days to come, I'm going to be changing up my scenery here, and I'll be bringing my games down to my office and actually have my, like a real board game streamer. I'll have my my bookshelves filled with my games behind me as a background, and this little boy's going to be front and center on there. All right, so that's what they announced. And obviously, if you're into other LCGs, there's a lot of really cool stuff that they announced for champions in particular. Stuff that I was looking forward
Daredevil.
to. Oh yeah, sorry, Ian. You're probably gonna have to get back into it. They're doing like Daredevil and Luke Cage, and they're doing
Yeah, all
they're
the
doing
defenders
Defenders
pretty
shit
much.
that finally. So, and champions, did they got announced a new core as well, or was that speculation that I saw? The internet.
No, that was just all
Okay,
speculation. Yeah.
cool. But
But
anyway,
not to say it won't happen, but
right.
yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes when you're eternally online like I am, those Reddit threads of people speculating will blend together with those Reddit threads of people speculating on actual announced things. So like I always have to check
Yeah.
myself. But yeah. So that kind of I guess leads us back to the overall game plan here of releases, which they did summarize very neatly for us. So the release timeline, you've got spring 2026. Both the new core set and the investigator decks have been slated for spring 2026, which that's nice. That presumably they'll drop within a month or two of each other. Summer 2026 is going to be Children of Blood, and then fall 2026 is Traces to Nowhere. So I don't know. It's gonna be a pretty bountiful year
Yeah.
for Arkham. It looks like
Seems like a good year.
wonderful. All right. Well, what else is there to say now that we know? Um, I I don't know. I don't know. It's so much to take in that this is coming. This is new. We got a bunch of campaigns and decks to build for chapter 1 before I set it aside. I guess someone asked in chat. This is probably a good springing off point for further discussion. We've talked about it before, but like, where are you at on keeping the two streams separate versus combining chapter 1 with chapter 2?
I mentioned this last time around, but I'm more coming to the place of mostly keeping them separate. Uh, Especially with this new stuff coming out. Like, if I have to worry about mixing these new cards in with the old cards, like, just practically, it's gonna be harder for me to like learn these new cards and get acquainted with this new card pool. So I'd rather just kind of keep them separate and just have a nice tight card pool and build from there. Not to say I won't mix them, I will sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that'll be more the exception. I will probably mix the investigators a lot. Like, I'll play chapter 2 investigators and chapter 1 stuff and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because we've got the angle both from being players and from being content creators, where we are gonna have to think about what the greater
Mm.
Arkham audience is actually has available to them and is actively consuming. Right now it definitely feels like chapter 1's still dominant because chapter 2 hasn't even come out. Like, we've had the big rush to buy everything, so people are hopping in and getting their chapter 1 stuff as best they can. But you project 2-3 years down the road where chapter 1 stuff has been out of print for a while. All the new players are only going to be readily able to access chapter 2 stuff. I feel like the line will get thicker and thicker between the two rather than the other way around, if I had to
Yeah,
guess.
I think that's fair. Like, the chapter 1 card pool is already like so big. And once you throw in chapter 2 stuff, eventually, like, when you're going through Arkham building decks, that list is going to get longer
Well,
and longer if you're mixing. So,
and that's going to be
yeah.
another interesting thing to keep track of is because I think one big influencing factor in all of that is how the community resources that we all
Hmm.
use
Yep.
divide the two or don't, right? Like,
Yeah.
if Arkham DB2 is completely its own site and that's the way they decide to just like start anew, then that's going to have an effect on the way that people consume this stuff. But if instead, they throw it all up on the same Arkham DB and there's just like a checkbox to be like chapter 1, chapter 2, then like it's a little bit easier to cross the streams, I think.
Yeah. It's there's so many different aspects to it, and it's hard thinking of another game that has done something similar, because usually it's either been like a second edition or the game is just dead.
Yeah.
But in this case, like, having to basically balance two card pools at once, because, like, even we mentioned it on the last time we were talking about this, but even like when you're going to cons or game night and like having like chapter 1 and chapter 2 decks, and like, who, just having that discussion with who you're playing with, like, which one are we playing with, are we mixing, just there's a lot of format discussions that have to happen now.
Yep. And I continually am torn on it because there is certainly an attraction and a mystique to a new meta, smaller card pool to manage, and kind of figuring out that space in and of itself, and like it's contained vacuum, I guess. However, one thing I've been thinking about is there's going to be moments where I'm like, oh man, this build is almost there, but it could use X.
Mm,
And I'm almost wondering if it's an interesting way to conceive of it where, mostly I will probably be playing new chapter 2 stuff. But maybe I allow like X number of chapter 1 splash slots to
mm,
round out a
I like
deck. So
that.
that way, I'm still kind of playing in the new meta and still mostly with the new cards, but occasionally just to round out a deck and give me a better chance, I might pull in a chapter 1 card here and there.
Yeah, I like that.
Hmm.
So still lets you access some of that card pool without it being too overwhelming. And I also feel like the player card pool is a bit different for me from the campaigns and scenarios. Like, if I have my chapter 2 decks, I don't see a big problem like taking them against Carcosa or like old standalones. Like I'm probably going to do that a lot because it's more content to play those decks against.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly, taking some of my old chapter 1 decks and playing them against Children of Blood or whatever. But for me, it's more so the player card pool, like keeping those separate.
Got it.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. I've been considering the I haven't even thought about like cross contaminating and from the campaign perspective. I've only ever really conceived of it from the player card pool. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess mechanically on its face, what we've been shown, there shouldn't be any reason that you shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
My
Yep.
biggest thing is going to be keeping an eye on what the new metagame feels like, right? Because
Mhm.
we talk about this, I talk about this all the time because you have that escalation that happens between player card design and player card consistency and I guess the breadth of player cards itself adds a power to the player card pool because you just have so many options to get the best thing working for yourself on the player card side. And then there tends to be an escalation on the encounter design side because like suddenly the player cards have more damage more consistently. So now enemies end up having either like just more health points or higher fight, or we throw in things like elusive that makes it harder to get them all in one shot. Um, just various little things like that. I'll be very interested to see where the baseline of chapter 2 starts in that regard. Because
Mhm.
if they are very decidedly saying, "Hey, let's like chill this shit down and let's de-escalate and get back to a place where enemies have 2 health most often, and then like 3, 4, 5 healths are a little bit more of a less common thing. But as a result, your player cards will also have you have to reach a lot harder and farther and expend more resources to get bonus damage. Then that's going to play a pretty big effect into cross contaminating the 2 player card pools, if that makes sense. Like that's kind of the biggest
Yeah,
thing that
it
I'm
does.
paying attention to in regards to combining the two. Because if the baseline feels the same and they didn't really change that part of the meta, then I don't know, it doesn't really feel like there's any like big advantage you would be giving yourself by using chapter 1 cards and chapter 2 cards together. But if
Right.
not,
Yeah. Like, because they've emphasized a few times that they're only testing the new scenario stuff with chapter 2 cards. So I guess the only it would just like if you're taking like fully fledged chapter 1 decks with a full card pool against like the core 2 campaign, then it's probably the equivalent of like taking a full card pool chapter 1 deck against Knight of the Zealot. But it just kind of depends on where they tweak the power level at for the core set. Like,
mhm.
because the core 1 set was actually fairly difficult once you get to Devour below. Like that's pretty punishing. So I'm curious if it's well, I'm guessing it probably won't be that same type of experience. It'll be a little bit more civilized, but I'm just curious, like where they're gonna lean on the difficult. Like, do they want that kind of like very tough challenge for new players to be like, oh, this is Arkham, or do they want it to be more approachable? I don't know. Yeah, I think that'll kind of determine.
Yeah. Well, and another interesting thing about the fact that the only campaigns we'll have for a while in chapter 2 are shorter campaigns. I almost
Mm.
wonder if that's going to make it easier for me, who is a salty ass bitch, when I get my asshole blown out by
Uh-huh.
the terrible confluence of bad luck that often befalls you playing Arkham. If that's going to be easier to handle, knowing like, oh, I've only got one scenario left. This
That
doesn't
is the
fuck up the
benefit of a
entire
shorter
campaign.
campaign. Yeah. It's a little bit less feel bad to go back to the beginning and play through again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But
that's it's gonna be interesting. And a couple other like little thoughts. Nick said in regards to Children of Blood when we were talking about that, ready for your shortest Iron Man in like 3 years. Like that'll be interesting because once we
that
clear
is it.
because we have Scarlet Keys, Hemlock, and Drowned City. left to do
Mm-hmm.
for Iron Man's, and then after that there will be 2 years where the Iron Man is a 3 scenario campaign. We'll do a core, I'm sure, a new core, and then we'll do a Children of Blood, and
Yeah, I didn't
like
even
that
think
a
about
three
that that
scenario
long.
Iron Man, you know that's yeah, it's like 6 to 8 hours of playing, depending on how many players you got. So we will probably be in a place where it's like, all right, for this Iron Man, which side scenarios are you throwing in? You know?
Yeah, that's probably what it will be. Throwing in some of these new scenario packs that make it a little longer.
Now, Nick did confirm in chat here that a big focus of its development was placed on replayability, which makes sense. Like if you're gonna make it shorter, it would like I said, it would make sense that it would be more dense. So
Yeah, I guess another thing too with speaking of replayability and like power level is obviously most of the focus is going to be on the player card pool, but we're getting new core encounter sets, and those tend to pop up like
a lot.
a ton. How many times have we seen the Striking Fear and Ancient Evils and Chilling Cold? And how big an impact do they have on each scenario's difficulty? So, seeing what those core encounter sets are like, I think will tell us a lot about what the difficulty level is going to be, the base level is going to be going forward.
As long as they have learned to make the Arkham locations their own encounter set, separate
Yes. Yeah.
separate from, you know, whatever the equivalent of Midnight Masks is going to be. How much
hmm
ink was expended because of that small innocent little oversight. How many times
Oh,
they
yeah.
had to print like when gathering the scenario cards for Midnight Masks, only grab the encounter. Yeah, so
Yeah. Good call.
but hey, just so much exciting stuff to come. I uh I- I'm I'm stoked. I'm stoked for I don't know, not like I feel like Arkham Chapter 1 was I didn't feel like it had bloated. I mean, obviously the player card pool is pretty wide and we were at that point where things are either like a lot of the player card design either has to be like so specific that it only works in 1 or 2 decks because it's too cute elsewhere, or like it has to just like up the ante and again kind of contribute toward that escalation. That happened here and there, but I am still, despite that, very excited for kind of a clean slate and new cards and just figuring out the meta again. Like, I don't know. Now everyone else gets to relive those days
Yeah.
of just the Arkham core being out, the heady days of late 2016, you know? It was a fun time.
Yeah. And I think that's reflected in the hype level in the community, highest I've seen in a very long time. Just like understandably, it's a new chapter. Everyone's excited, everyone's making content, like talking about all this stuff. I think the only it's my own personal hesitation for everything is just because like we did get so much stuff in chapter one towards the end because my own personal pace of playing slowed down that I feel like I haven't tried yet, like so many different player cards and deck types that I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to try yet. But now my focus is going to be on chapter two stuff. How am I going to find time to make time to play chapter one stuff? So yeah, that's where those things come in of like playing chapter one decks against chapter two stuff, or
Narrator voice.
splashing
He
some cards
wouldn't.
in and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's actually let's close this out with a little bit of that. I want to ask you
Mm.
what chapter 1 investigators have you yet to build for and actually play?
Ooh,
I'm pulling up Arkham DB right now
I know.
because I know mine. I
Yeah.
think I said last time it's definitely over half a dozen, but it's under 10. So let's see if I was correct. Because we'll set up a little bucket list for ourselves here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me see. Like I
Okay.
feel like because I usually make a point to try most of them once, so there might not be a long list, but there is going to be a big list of ones that I feel like maybe I've only played once or I need to give more of a go. Um, so looking through this list, let me see.
All right. So for me, I have yet to play Wilson.
Okay.
Um, I have yet to finish a campaign with Amina
Mm,
because the 2 times I've tried, I've rage quit because I just clearly don't know how to build a Mina. Probably it's as on me as anyone, but I do have to admit it.
Sure.
Um, let's see. We did Kohaku, did that. I have even completed a campaign with Susie, so I get to count that one. I have yet to play with Michael. I guess it's kind of mostly new ones. Seeker Agatha, obviously out of the box. I did Mystic Agatha right away, which was a blasty blast. Like she's a wild, weird experience in figuring out like timing and what events work. I haven't finished a campaign with Kate. I was in the middle of a hemlock that got interrupted by something new dropping. Bob, I have yet to play Bob. And Bob is one where I'm like, oh man, a multiplayer, that sounds like it would be so freaking fun, but I have never gotten around to it.
Yeah. Bob is the one who I talk about playing in Iron Man every single switching to someone else. No one is playing items. Keeps happening.
Well, that's the thing is like we need to actually coordinate around it for it to be cool. And then this doesn't really count, but I haven't played Stella since like that series of starter decks dropped. So I have played Stella through a couple campaigns at that time, but it has been a long time, and I owe her a revisit. But that's my bucket list. What you got?
Yeah, so for mine, I think of the like regular investigators. I have played them all at least once, but that might be like one scenario and not a whole campaign. So I think my bucket list would be the ones I need to actually like give a good go at, because you usually don't, even if you play them a little bit, you don't fully experience what they're like. So I think for me that would be Kate as well. Like I don't think I actually finished the campaign I was playing with, and really wanting to experience what that deck is like.
And she's unfortunate that she kind of gets like stuck in the space between like Ursula and Trish, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like she's obviously different, but
also maybe these are going to be a lot of Hemlock. That's the card pool that I feel like I haven't got.
Hey, you can tell at what time we were busy out of our asses.
Yep, exactly.
And it was when Hemlock dropped.
Kohaku's another one that like I delayed building for a long time because just trying to get my head around how you play them. But I did play through a few scenarios and actually really enjoyed it, but just like getting busy, didn't finish the campaign.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to do some more Kohaku because that playstyle is actually super fun. Let's see who else is on this list. Those might be the main ones. Susie, like I played her standalone, but I've never actually like played a campaign. That would be fun.
It's wild. Upgrading with her is interesting.
And then I think mostly just the Drowned City Investigators. I played them all once. But like I want to do some more McGlenn runs, some more George Barnaby runs. Some of them I've played more than others. But my big bucket list is actually the parallel stuff, because that's stuff that's easy to forget exists.
Yeah. I just did it this moment.
I played some of the original parallel ones that came out, but the newer ones, like I still need to play Parallel Lola. I'm playing Parallel Monterey Jack right now. I can't even. I played a little bit of Parallel Jim, but I need to do that. So yeah, really, and the parallel scenarios. Those are kind of some big buckets right now. Is all the parallel.
Yeah, that's the thing I always forget is so many of those have a new spin on an old scenario that I always think sounds cool, but I never think to push myself in a direction that actually gets me playing it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we got to clear the queue, Ian. It's coming.
I know.
It's coming fast. Guess what? This year's gonna be over before you blink, and then suddenly we're like on the cusp of spring 2026. So we got to do this.
I know, like, really focusing in on Hemlock, Drowned City. I just want to play through all that stuff.
Well, then you also have to think about getting reps in on TSK for Iron Man next year.
True. Still need to play Film Fatale.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right. Well, we'll be accountability buddies in this. Is this
Yeah.
clearing the queue